Hey, everybody, welcome to Business Balance and Beyond. My name is Kurt Bonner with Mamba Mortgage and The Real Kurt B. We are brought here today with Mr. Matt Walker. Matt, thank you so much for being here. My man, he's been doing some incredible things here in the Indiana market. He actually lived here initially and then moved out to Big Sky, Montana. We're going to jump into that a little bit and then ended up coming back. So, welcome back. So, can you give us a little detail and a little background of yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me today, Kurt. It's a pleasure to be here. This is a great, spot you have. Um, yeah, I live in Westfield. I grew up in Indiana, grew up in West Lafayette, and went to Purdue, met my wife, and dragged her to Montana. And so we spent the last 11 years in Montana. I was doing real estate pretty much the whole time and worked at a private club called Yellowstone Club.
Hmm.
Um, and just got, some really great experience in some high level luxury real estate,
Yeah.
which was super fun. And, got to meet some amazing people, kind of work with some amazing people and kind of learn the ins and outs of real estate, and transactions and how a big entity like a private club works with that has a ski resort and a golf
Yeah.
course and all these other amenities. It was its own kind of little village inside of a bubble, and so in order to be a member there you had to own property. So we sold the property there and worked, like I said, along with some like really amazing people, and not just like on our team, but other departments. And property management was one of those big entities at that location. And so I got exposed to kind of many different
Yeah.
facets of real estate, which I think is helping me here. Now that we're back in Indiana, so we moved back to Indiana last year. Um, I guess basically the impetus was we were having twins and we already had a 2-year-old, and we needed more help and we needed a bigger place, and so it's kind of a coming home for us, and
Wow.
so we landed up in Hamilton County in Westfield and just absolutely loving it.
I love that, man. Well, first of all, I think what an incredible story that you have. And again, you and I have talked about this several times. I've like introduced you to people. I'm like, yeah, he was used to skiing on the slopes, right straight into to go do a showing. And now you're chilling in the cornfields, baby. We're vibing over here. Now, again, from Indiana, so familiar with the space, but it is cool to see knowing in that case you had a great gig going. It sounds like it was an incredible place in general, but sometimes it's coming back for family, right? And doing the thing that's best for your family. And so I want to give you a little pat on the back for doing some of those hard things where it doesn't always feel like it makes sense sometimes, but there's a reason why. So props to you for being able to do that. Really, our goal today is we want to talk about a little bit of your journey as a real estate agent, specifically on the investor side, and then also with property management and what that looks like. So, could you tell us on the property management side first? What does good property management really look like?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just somebody that's going to show up and answer the phone.
Hmm.
I look at it like, as an investor myself, how would I want my properties to be taken care of? And so, having somebody that will just answer the phone when you have questions or, anything that's going wrong with, from the tenant standpoint, the owner standpoint,
Hmm.
if something comes in from the city that needs to be dealt with. And then also having all the resources, having contractors that can take care of things, and just,
Connections are
kind
key.
of knowing all those pieces and how they all fit together. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. And just, having kind of the base knowledge of um, property acquisition, maintaining properties,
Hmm.
and because you can't be an expert on everything, but just having the people that you can call to get things fixed when they
Yeah,
need to be fixed. Because inevitably, things are going to break and you got to take care of it.
right.
But you got to
Absolutely.
take care of it, quickly.
Yes.
Otherwise, you have a bigger issue.
Speed is always a primary concern. I mean, how many tenants do we hear that say, "Oh gosh, the property management company is terrible. They just don't get on things." And I guess you kind of answered this a little bit, but what are some of the things that you've maybe noted or folks that are trying to do property management on their own that maybe would benefit from going and working with a property management company such as yourself instead of trying to do it on their own?
Yeah. I mean, having done it on my own, for a few years in Montana, we have some properties. Um, I think it's just, managing your time. And I mean, it is a huge time commitment to um, like doing the leasing, doing the tenant communication, tenant screening, all those kinds of things. And then also, like I said, having kind of a contractor base that you can leverage and work closely with.
Hmm.
I think if you're out there doing all of that on your own, and maybe you also have a regular job, or kids to take care of, or a family or whatever, that's a lot to juggle.
Yes.
And so I think that's where we come in, and we hear this all the time for people that are trying to do it on their own, and then they get to maybe, a scale where it's just kind of too much, then we can just really leverage our resources and say, hey, let us help you just get more organized, and help, you take care of these properties and these assets, that, might just need a little extra help just to get a little, more dialed in.
Yeah, well, and I think it's very valuable for you to say that. And one of the questions I feel like, because everybody's always like, well, how do you find a good property management company? And you've already mentioned some of those things. But what would you say is maybe some of the leverage between communicating with your investor or the person who owns the property versus the tenant themselves? Like finding that balance between creating a good experience, but also helping the owner to realize like these are the expectations and things that we need to balance.
Yeah, well, it is all a give and take, right? I mean, like, the tenant just wants, a clean and safe place to live, and have things that are just in good working order, and for owners, it's kind of a bottom line thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of the time, they just want to see kind of, a good, producing asset that, is making money. And so we try to, bridge that gap on how to maximize, the asset for an owner, but also provide really good customer service for our tenants.
And I would be curious on your take on this because I'm assuming when you do what you guys do and provide that 5-star or excellent customer service, my guess is those tenants probably want to stay longer.
Yeah, yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, and things shift. I mean, somebody might get a new job or taken elsewhere, but yeah, I mean, if you're taking good care of a property, then and moving is a lot of work. Not everybody wants to do that, and so having just done it across the country,
Yep.
it's not super fun all the time. But yeah, if you're taking good care of a property, we find that tenants will stay longer and continue to just take care of the property better as well.
Yeah, and I can speak personally for everybody. We actually met at a coffee shop, and this was really incredible for me. This is one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Matt about this today, was because we're waiting on our coffees, and the person up at the counter was like, "Oh my gosh, that's my property manager." Oh yeah, it like just starts having this wonderful conversation, and I thought that was super powerful because it shows who you are. The fact that your tenants were like, "Oh my gosh, let me introduce you to my property manager." Not typically the first conversation that I'm looking to have, but the fact that she went out of their way to say that shows who you are and what you're doing. And then the fact that you recognized and then you brought up very specific topic. You're like, hey, yeah, how's this? How's this? How's this? Relationships go such a far way. So thank you for doing that. And again, I think that stands out about who you are and what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, that was really cool. Shout out to Madeline for saying hey, and yeah, it was really random. Just at that coffee shop, kind of far away from where she lives and where I live, and there she was. So
Yeah, you
cool.
never know who you're going to run into. And I think that's super powerful. Tell us something a little bit on the side of being a realtor, specifically on the investor side and property management. What kind of gives you the edge for folks that are wanting to invest to be able to go with you?
Yeah, I think it's just the ability to find properties first and foremost. I mean, every investor is just looking for deals and trying to figure out, where, those can be found. And it really, depends on what their goals are and, what they want to achieve in a property. And so, I mean, we can obviously, comb through, the MLS as good as anybody can, but we also have other, opportunities and ways to try to find properties. which we can, pass along to our investors. So yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I don't know. I don't,
No,
I guess,
you answered it.
yeah,
Yeah, your ability to kind of comb through and see the deeper dive. And I think a lot of times for investors, as being one myself as well, is we get caught up in the numbers, man. Like half the time, the emotional tie is not nearly as much as a first time home buyer. And so knowing that you have a real estate agent who is like, oh yeah, I know exactly what you want, right? You're an investor yourself, so you know a little bit deeper into that even more, right? You're a property manager, so again, you know a little bit further into that as well. And so your ability to comb through that stuff and look at the numbers, say, yeah, you're not, this one's not even on the table because it's not gonna work, right? It doesn't make sense. But still having those conversations, my assumption is because not everybody's there for just cash flow. Some people are there for tax stuff. Some people are there for just debt pay down. But again, that's where you get to use your expertise.
yeah, it's really important to, yeah, like understand what the investor's mindset is and get to know them so that you can comb through, because there's obviously, not as much inventory as I think we'd like to see, but there is still a lot out there, and you have to try to, initially cast a very broad net and kind of really hone in on certain sectors and where they want to focus.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. All right, a couple more questions just to kind of finish up here. So, if you're an aspiring investor, right, and you're trying to get in, maybe your first one, maybe you've done a couple, but you're still just not comfortable with it. What would be your tips to find a good property management company, right? And what should you be looking for maybe in your first property?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, kind of get your finances organized. Certainly talk to a good
Oh
lender,
yeah,
Mama Mortgage.
let's go.
Um, would be great. For property management, I mean, call us, call around, talk to a couple, different companies, and just try to, understand how they do business. Certainly understand kind of their fee structure. I think what sets us apart is we try to keep things really simple.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to know, okay, what do you charge,
yeah,
right? And everybody's looking at their bottom line, and so we try to keep our fee structure really simple. And so basically, you have one property, it's 10%. You get two, it goes to 9%. As soon as you have five properties or five front doors, it's 8%. And then we charge a leasing commission to get a new tenant in there, up 1 month's rent. And then after that, the goal is to just have them continue to renew,
hmm
and then there's no more fees. We don't have all these little fees,
yeah,
admin fees that a lot of other companies do. So as if, talking to new investors, that people that want to get started,
hmm
trying to just get as organized as possible, but also don't get kind of stuck in the don't get bogged down by kind of trying to be perfectly organized and have everything. I'd say just try to get committed, get your first property,
yeah,
and go from there.
yeah. And I think it's a great thing for everyone when you're potentially investing for the first time. A lot of us want to go in and run it ourselves, and I've done that, and I've also done paying to be able to do it because there's benefits to both sides. And what I'll say is every time I run my numbers, right, I always add in property management fees, even if I plan to run it myself, because you never know, something may happen in your life, or you realize you hate being a property manager and you need to send them over to somebody who's doing a great job. So I always put in that 10% number as just a buffer for myself to know, like, okay, if I hate this one, I'm sending it over to Matt, right?
Yeah.
I need to make sure that I'm not messing with this anymore and get it to the pros who are doing this as a full-time gig, right? And continuing to grow that. So thank you for that. So one of the things that we want to know for the listeners, myself, is how can we get a hold of you if we're trying to get into either buying our next investment property here, specifically in the Indianapolis area or surrounding areas? And what is the best way if we're looking to get into property management, need a property manager?
Yeah, absolutely. So mattwalkerrealestate.com takes you to the website. I'm on social media, Walker MJ, on Instagram, and you can find me on Facebook and LinkedIn. I hang my license with Sotheby's. I'm really proud of the work that they do there. Encore Sotheby's. We're headquartered up in Carmel, and we have some other satellite offices. And then in that same location is General Property Management,
Yeah.
which is our company. So General Property Management is me, and I have two other coworkers, And we have almost 300 properties under management right now, kind of all around central Indiana, north, south, east, and west of Indianapolis. We have a good kind of little market in Anderson,
Hmm.
and we're starting to expand, north into Kokomo, Lebanon, Whitestown, and some of those other areas.
I love that. Well, thank you, Matt, so much for being here. I appreciate you. Everybody watching, if you guys need anything, please reach out to this man. He knows what's up. He's been through a lot of different things. And as an investor, and as a property manager, and as a real estate agent, he can help you on all three accounts. So please reach out to him. Again, thank you guys for being here. The Real Kurt B with Mamba Mortgage. Appreciate you guys and have an awesome rest of your day.